Hello everyone, welcome to iQuanta. My name is Nitin. I'm sure all of you are doing great. Guys, the first video of the topic profit and loss, in which we'll be discussing some basic concepts and also some important applications. So let's start the topic. So as I said, first we'll be discussing the basics. So I'm sure we know we all of us know the different kind of prices. For example, the cost price and the selling price. Let me discuss a bit about it. So guys, what is the cost price? Cost price, we can say, is that price at which we buy something or a shopkeeper buys something, right? Guys, if shopkeeper is buying something and he has to pay some taxes, so that tax money is also included in the cost price. And also, let's say if the shopkeeper is taking his articles from one place to other, and he is spending some transportation costs, so that transportation cost is also included in the cost prices. And selling price is what? Same thing, at which the shopkeeper is selling the articles. Simple, right? So now coming to the profit and loss. So when the shopkeeper makes a profit, when the selling price is more than the cost price, right? We can say at that moment the shopkeeper is making the profit, right? And what is the amount of the profit? Profit is simply selling price minus the cost price. Very simple. All right. Similarly, let's understand about the loss and the points related to the losses. First thing, when the loss occurs, so guys, loss occurs when the selling price is less than the cost price, or cost price is more than the selling price. Simple. And the amount of loss, similarly, we can say is nothing but CP minus SP, cost price minus the selling price. All right. Now let's understand about the profit and the loss percentage, right, guys? So we all have learned a few formulas in the school. So I want to start, from those formulas, right? So profit percentage, the formula is, we all know that, profit upon cost price into 100. The very simple formula, right? Profit upon cost price into 100. Okay. Similarly, we know the formula of the loss percentage as well. The loss percentage, we can say, is nothing but, the loss upon CP into 100, right? Okay, now guys, we just had finished the topic percentages. In percentages, we learned what? That if you have to calculate that A is what percentage of B, so we say that this is A upon B into 100, right? Let me in fact write it here. If suppose we have to find that A is what percentage of B, right? So this is written as A is what percentage of B. This is written as A upon B into 100. Now, if you look at these two formulas, so they are similar to A upon B into 100, right? For example, in this formula, if you see, this is like A upon B into 100, right? This is also A upon B into 100. So if you compare with all, so it's in this formula of profit percentage, we can say A is a profit and B is a cost price. And in the formula of loss percentage, we can say A is a losses and B is a cost price. So we can actually write profit percentage and loss percentages in this format, like A is what percentage of B, right? So profit percentage will be what? We can say, that A is what percentage of B, and in this formula, A is profit and B is cost price, after comparing from this formula, right? So we can say that A is a profit and B is a cost price. So we can write that profit percentage is nothing, that profit is what percentage of, the cost price, right? All right. Similarly, we can say loss percentage is what? The same thing, guys. A is losses, B is the cost price, right? So we can this also, that A is what percentage of the B. A is a loss and B is the cost price. All right. That means loss is what percentage of the cost price once again. All right. Now, guys, the second thing is what? Okay. We have recently learned percentage change in the topic percentages, right? So we can relate them with the percentage change as well. How? Okay, guys, remember in percentage change we learned what? That percentage increases, that increment is what percentage of initial value, and percentage decreases, that decrement is what percentage of initial value. So profit obviously is an increment and loss is obviously a decrement. So we can compare profit percentages formula with the percentage increase formula, and the loss percentage formula with the percentage decrease formula. How? Okay, see guys, percentage increase is what? Let me in fact write it here, right? That percentage increase is that increment is what percentage of the initial value, right? The amount of increment is what percentage of the initial value, right? Similarly, we know the formula of the percentage decrease, right? And we are relating with the profit with the loss percentage. Let me write it first. Percentage decrease is what? That the decrement is what percentage of initial value, right? Let me write it here. The amount of decrement is what percentage of the initial value. All right. Okay. Now, if we compare the formula of profit and loss percent with the formula of percentage increase and decrease. We can say what? So guys, profit percent is percentage increase. Now we can say profit becomes the amount of increment and cost price becomes the amount of initial value. Similarly, in loss percentage, the loss becomes the amount of decrement and the cost price again becomes the initial value. So guys, here we are going to learn this whole topic, profit and loss percentage, by comparing with percentage increase and percentage decrease. And we can also say that we will be using the concept of percentage change in the whole topic of profit and loss percentage as well. How? Okay, as I just shown you, this profit percentage can be written as percentage increment as well. So remember guys, in any percentage change, whether it's increase or decrease, there is some initial value, some final value, and some amount of changes, right? So let's relate everything now, right? So we can say here that profit percentage is a kind of profit percent is a kind of percentage increase, right? Where we can relate initial value, final values, everything. In fact, let me write it all in the next slide because of some space. All right, so let me write it here. We can say what guys, that profit percent is a kind of percentage increase, right? And the loss percentage is a kind of percentage decrease. All right, profit percent is kind of percentage increase and loss percent is kind of, we can say, percentage decrease, right? What about the other things? So we can say the amount of profit, the amount of profit is, we can say, is the amount of increment, right? The amount of profit will be the amount of increment. And in the case of loss percentage, we can say the amount of losses is the amount of decrement, right guys? Amount of loss is the amount of the decrement. Okay, similarly, if we talk about the initial and final values, right? So guys, we can say what, in both of these processes, the initial value is the cost price and the final value is the we can say selling price. Okay, we can say what, the cost price is the initial value in both the processes and the selling price is the final value in both of these processes. All right, let me write this here as well. Cost price is the initial value and the selling price is the final value. All right guys, now whatever we have learned here, we'll try to do some basic examples with the help of this. So guys, let's assume, right, that the cost price is given to us. Let's say the cost price here is rupees 80, all right, and we are given the profit percentage. So with the help of this, we have to try to find the amount of the profit, right? Profit percentage, let's say, is simply 20%, as I have mentioned, right? So what will be the amount of profit, or we can say what is the amount of increment, because profit is like the amount of the increment, right? And profit percent is nothing but the percentage increase. So we can say the amount of the profit is simply, guys, we can say 20% of the cost price, because remember that profit percent is always calculated with respect to the cost price. And this problem, the cost price is given, profit percent is given, so we just have to find the amount of the profit, and that will be 20% of the cost price, right? And cost price is how much? The cost price in this example is 80 rupees, so we can say this should be 20% of rupees 80, which we can say is equal to rupees 16. All right. Similarly, guys, if we take the example for the cost in the case of the loss percentage, so let's say the cost price is given to us, let's say rupees 130, and let's say the loss percentage is given to us is equal to 30%, right? And let's try to find the amount of losses, and by the help of this, we can also find the selling price, right? First, let's find the loss, amount of the loss. So again, guys, the loss is nothing that calculated with respect to the cost price, right? Loss percentage is 30, so we can say the amount of losses is nothing but 30% of the cost price, and cost price in this case is rupees 130. So we can say this is nothing but 30% of rupees 130. Now 10% of 130 is 13, so 30% has to be rupees 39. Pretty simple to do it, right? And guys, after that, once we found the profit percentage, we found the profit and loss amount, we can also find the selling price. Remember, in case of profit, selling price is more than the cost price, and that difference is nothing but the profit. And in this case of loss percentage, the selling price is basically the amount of loss is cost price minus selling price. So we can also say the selling price will come with the help of cost price and losses as well. We can say the selling price is nothing but cost price minus the losses, right? Okay, let's find the selling price here. So we can say selling price is cost price plus the profit, right? And you can also treat selling price as a final value, right? So it will be how much? It will be rupees 80, the cost plus the amount of profit, which is rupees 16, and that should be how much? That should be rupees 96, right? Okay, second case, in case of loss percentage, again guys, we can say selling price is a final value which is actually lesser than, you know, the cost price or the initial value, because it's a case of percentage decrease, right? So we can say this is cost price minus the losses. The cost price is rupees 130 and the amount of losses is rupees 39, and that should be how much, guys? 130 minus 39 has to be rupees 91. So by this, you know, we can easily find the amount of selling price with the help of cost price and profit or loss percentage. So that was, you know, a simple example. Now let's, you know, increase the level. So guys, this time, you know, we'll be finding the profit or loss percentage if, you know, the cost price and selling price is given to us, right? So let's take an example. Let's say guys, the cost price is rupees 120, all right, and let's say the selling price is given to us rupees 156, right? And we'll try to find out the profit or loss percentage. So guys, I just told you that profit percentage is nothing, you know, but a kind of percentage increase, right? And in this we can say what the cost price is initial value and the selling price is the final value. So we can also, you know, say this as that cost price as the initial value, right, and selling price is the final value, right? So whatever the percentage increase will be there in this case, that would be called the profit percentage. Simple as that, right? Okay, let's, you know, instead of finding the profit percentage, we'll find the percentage increase, and that will become the profit percentage as well, right? So what is the percentage increase, guys? See, this is the initial value, this is the final value. The increment is 36, very simple. And what will be the percentage increase? So as I said, either you call it profit percentage or you call it percentage increase. They both are the same, right? So percentage increase equal to profit percentage is what that increment is what percentage of initial value, right? So increment here is 36 and the initial value we know is rupees 120, right guys? And among 36 and 120, 12 is the highest common, which we should cancel out, right? So if we cancel by 12, it will be 3, it will be 10. So we just have to find out that 3 is what percentage of 10, and we just know that 1 by 10 is 10%, so 3 by 10 has to be, you know, 30% in the end. Simple as that, all right? Now, this is a profit percentage or percentage increase, whatever you can call it. Now guys, similarly, let's take an example in which we have to find the loss percentage. Simple, right? Okay, let's take an example where cost price, let us say, is 180, all right? And let's just say that the selling price is 150, okay? And let's try to find the amount of loss percentage. So yes, it is a loss because selling price is less than the cost price. Alright guys, just like, you know, we calculate the profit percentage, we can do the same to calculate the loss percentage. You know why? Because profit percentage kind of percentage increase and loss percentage kind of percentage decrease, but they both are kind of percentage changes. As I said, this is, you know, kind of percentage decrease. I mentioned here as well, right? And we can say what? In this case, the cost price will be treated again as the initial value and selling price will be treated again as a final value, right? So, we just have to find, you know, the percentage decrease, because that will be nothing but equal to the loss percentage, all right? Okay guys, so let's quickly find out the percentage decrease, because that is something which we have done so many times in the percentage chapter, right? What will be the percentage decrease? Let's see what is the decrement first of all. The decrease is rupees 30, right? And initial value is 180. So we just have to find out that amount of decrement is what percentage of the initial value, right? Decrement is rupees 30 and the initial value is rupees 180. So we just have to find that 30 is what percentage of 180, which we can also say as 1 by 6. And guys, what is 1 by 6? We all know 1 by 6 is 16.66%. We have learned this, you know, we have used this so many times in the chapter percentages, right? So this is how, you know, we can calculate, we can find out the profit or loss percentage as well if the amount of cost price and selling price is given to us. All right. Now, one more thing I want to find, I would like to explain you guys. If, you know, we are only given the profit or loss percentage, then how we can find the relation between the cost price and the selling price, because that can be helpful in, you know, terms of finding the cost prices if selling price and the profit or loss percentage is given. This is actually nothing but the concept of multiplication factor, which we learned in the chapter percentages, right? So let me explain you with the help of one simple example. All right, suppose guys, we are given that profit percentage is as 20%, all right, and let's say that loss percentage is also given to us 20%, and we have to find out, the relation between the cost price and selling price in both of these, cases. Okay, we just learned that profit percentage is kind of percentage increase, right? So we can say profit percent or percentage increase, they are the same as 20%, right? Similarly, we all have studied the loss percentage is nothing but the kind of percentage decrease. So again, we can say either it is loss percentage or percentage decrease, they both are equal to 20%, right? Okay, now guys, suppose this is percentage increase and percentage decrease. Let's not call profit and loss percentage, let's just call them percentage increase and percentage decrease for a moment, right? So what will be the relation between initial and final values? I'm sure guys you all remember, we have studied in the case of percentage change in the percentage chapter. If percentage increase or percentage decrease is given, then how do we make a relation between the initial and final values? So guys, 20% we all know is 1/5, right? So what should be the multiplication factor? In case of increase, that we can say is 1 plus 1/5, and in case of decrease, we can say the multiplication factor is 1 minus 1/5, right? Okay, so yes guys, we can say what here, the multiplication factor is 6/5, so we can say initial value into 6/5 is equal to the final value, alright. And in this case, we can say what, that initial value into 4/5, because the multiplication factor is 4/5, right? As it is a case of decrement, right? Okay, now we also have studied that in case of profit percentage, as it is a case of percentage increase only, right? So initial value is nothing but the cost price and final value is the selling price, and same happens in case of loss percentage. So we can substitute, we can replace initial value with the cost price, right? And we can replace final value with the selling price. Same thing we can do over here. So initial value is the cost price and the final value as the selling price, right? So finally guys, we got a relation between the cost price and the selling price in both of these cases, all right? So guys, this is how we can find the relation between the cost price and selling price if the profit percentage and the loss percentage is mentioned, right? And how it can be used, guys, this can be used the most when we have to find the cost price and selling price and the percentage change, or you can say the profit or loss percentage is mentioned. Why? Because cost price is the initial value, and to find the initial value, the best method is always the method of using the multiplication factor. Alright guys, so this is the basics of profit and loss. Now let's do some applications to to learn these concepts better, right? So this is the first application. It says that there is a man who sells an article at rupees 150 by making the profit of 25%, is find his cost price. Okay guys, whenever you see your question right in the video, so just pause the video for a few minutes, try to solve it yourself, and then after solving yourself, then you should watch the video, right? Okay, so in this question guys, you can see that the selling price is given because he sells at this price, right? This should be the selling price, and profit percentage is given, and we need to find the cost price. So guys, this is what we just had been discussing over here, right? If we have to find the cost price, the best method is the method of the multiplication factor, right? So in this case, that the profit percentage is given to us 25%, right? And profit percentage is nothing but the kind of percentage increase. So 25% we can say is 1/4 in fractions. The multiplication factor has to be 1 plus 1/4, which you can also say as 5/4, right? So we can say what guys, initial value into 5/4 is the final value, and initial value is the cost price, right? And the final value is the selling price. That's it guys, this is almost finished, right? See, selling price is given to us as rupees 150. Now with the help of this, we just have to find the cost price. We can say cost price is equal to rupees 150 into 4/5, all right? So 150/5 is nothing but 30 rupees, and 30 into 4 has to be rupees 120. So this is how we can find the amount of the cost price by this method. Okay, so that is the question number 1, an easy one, right? Moving to the question number 2, that's also easy, right? The question says that the cost price of 2 articles is same. One is sold at the profit of 20% and other is sold at a loss of 30%. Now we need to find his overall profit or loss percentage. Okay, so we just know the fact that the cost price of both the articles is same, right? So, but we are not given any values. We are only given the percentages values. That's why in the end also they have only asked the percentage value, right? No actual amount is given, no actual amount is being asked, right? So how do we do this? Okay guys, the cost price is given same, so we should start by assuming the cost prices of both the articles. What should be the assumption? The assumption could be anything. It could be any variables, it could be the numbers as well, right? But guys, the best assumption can be, since it is a question of percentage in the end, right? So the best assumption is either 100 or a multiple of 100, right? So let's start with an assumption of 100, right? If that doesn't work, we can change the assumption as well, right? If doesn't work, it means to say, if doesn't work in terms of making the calculation comfortable, then we can change the assumption as well, right? Okay, first we are going to assume the cost price of both the articles is rupees 100. Okay, cost price of the first article, let's say, is 100. Of the second article also, let us say, is rupees 100. Okay, now we are given that one is sold at the profit of 20% is, right? So guys, in this case, what should be the amount of the profit? Okay, we can say the amount of profit is 20% is of the cost price, right? 20% of means 100 rupees, which we can also say as rupees 20. All right. And in the other case, we are given the loss of 30% is, so loss is also calculated with respect to the cost prices. We know that. So 30% of 100 rupees, which is also rupees 30. All right. Now, what is the overall the profit or loss? So guys, by combining both the articles, you can see that overall there will be the losses, because the loss amount is more than the amount of the profit, right? So we can say overall this person has faced the loss of 10 rupees. Now here guys, most of the students just write the answer as 10% is loss, but that is not correct, guys. You need to check it. We have sold these two articles together, so the cost price will also be combined, right? Cost price of both the articles together is not 100, it's actually 200 rupees. Okay, it's not 100, it is a 200 rupees. So now finally let's calculate the loss percentage. The amount of loss is given, the total cost price is given, right? So what should be the loss percentage, guys? The loss percentage we can say is nothing. That loss is what percentage of the total cost price. All right. Okay, so loss is how much? The loss is rupees 10 and the cost price is rupees 200. So we just have to find out that rupees 10 is what percentage of rupees 200, okay, which we can further say as 1 upon 20, all right, and 1 upon 20 we all know is nothing but 5%, so we can say that overall, that person is facing 5% loss. That means we can say the final answer is 5% loss. So guys, this is how we can solve this wonderful question as well. Okay, now let's move to the next question and increase the level, right? The third question says that a man buys 12 articles at 15 rupees and sells 20 articles at rupees 35. Find the profit or loss percentage. Alright guys, some students think that the cost price is 15, the selling price is 35, so profit should be 20, and then 20 profit upon cost price 15 will be the profit percentage. But no guys, that's not correct. Why? Because the articles which are bought are 12 and the articles which got sold are 20, right? So we cannot solve it like this, okay? We have to consider the number of articles similar when you buy something and we are when we are selling something. Something very obvious, unless we do not consider the bought articles and sold articles similar, how can we actually compare them, right? And how we can find the profit or loss percentage. So let me tell you how we can solve this question, right? Let me first write this data, okay? We are given the cost price of the 12 articles and we are given the selling price of 20 articles, right guys? Cost price of 12 articles is rupees 15 and the selling price of 20 articles is rupees 35, right? Okay guys, so how do we do this, right? So as I said, we need to consider the articles same in both of these transactions, right? So we can do one thing. We can find out the cost price of one article and also the selling price of one article, right? So let's see what it gives us, right? So guys, if this cost price of 12 articles is 15, what should be the cost price of one article? So that will be 15 by 12, right? 12 articles is 15, so for one is 15 by 12, which you can say is 5 by 4, all right? Now the selling price of 20 is 35, so what should be the selling price of one article? We can say 35 by 20 and that will be 7 by 4, right guys? So yes, we can do like this, right? But I don't want you to I don't want you to struggle in terms of the calculating in fractions, right? So we should actually change the assumption, right? Guys, here I found the cost and the selling price as one article, right? So we can do what? So guys, we can solve in fractions as well, but I don't want you to struggle in fractions, okay? So we can change our method. What we can do here, we can change the number of articles being bought and being sold, right? But also we have to keep them similar. So one does not work. So we can either take the SCF of these numbers 12 and 20, okay, or we can also take, you know, the LCM of 12 and 20, right? So guys, in most of the cases, the LCM works the best, right? So I'm going to, you know, solve this question with the help of the LCM, these numbers. For example, here we have 12 and here we have 20. And, you know, as I said, we are going to take the LCM of 12 and 20. What is the LCM of 12 and 20? It's very simple. It is actually 60, all right? So guys, let us, you know, consider the 60 articles while being bought and while being sold as well, right? So let's calculate with the 60 articles, all right? Okay, so 60 articles I'm writing in terms of buying and also in terms of, you know, selling. All right, so guys, suppose, you know, we bought 60 articles. So now let's say what should be the price of the 60 articles. So luckily guys, 12 articles price is given and we need to find the price of the 60. So 60 is 5 times of 12, all right? So the price will also get 5 times, okay? So we can say what 15 fives it is, and 15 fives should be rupees 75. Simple, right guys? Okay, the second case, the 20 article selling price is given and we need to find the 60 articles price. Okay, the selling price is getting multiplied by, you know, you can see the number of articles got multiplied by 3 from 20 to 60. So the selling price should also get multiplied by 3. So 35 threes we can say is 105, all right? So finally we have the data, you know, I mean to say finally we have the cost price and selling price of the equal number of articles, all right? Cost price of 60 we know, the selling price also of 60 articles we know, and now we can compare and now we can find the profit or loss percentage. Obviously this is profit because selling price is more than the cost price, right? Now let us find the profit percentage, all right? The cost price of 60 articles will be 75 and the selling price is rupees, you know, 105. Okay, guys, I just, you know, told you how do we find the profit or loss percentage in the few example in the beginning, right? We can again consider this as the initial value and this as the final value, all right? We do not need to, you know, write this always. This is something which we can use in our brain. Okay, the amount of increment, which is also the profit, is rupees 30. Okay, now the final thing is the profit percentage or the percentage increment, right? Profit percentage, we can say that profit is what percentage of cost price. The profit here is rupees 30 and the cost price here is rupees 75. So we just have to find out that 30 is what percentage of 75, right guys? Now in these two terms, 15 is something which is common, right? So we can say 15 twos and 15 fives. So we can say this is as 2 by 5. Now 2 by 5 we can say is double of 1 by 5. 1 by 5 we all know is 20%. So this should be 2 into 20%, which we can say as 40%, right? So guys, overall there is 40% profit in this transaction, right? So finally the answer is 40%. I'm sure you guys have understood this, you know, method, and you understood why we took, you know, these numbers 60, 60 each to make the calculation easier. All right. Now guys, coming to the fourth application, this question says what? That the cost price of 12 articles is equal to the selling price of 18 articles. Find his profit or loss percentage. So guys, this is, you know, again one of the very commonly asked question, right? And we can solve this question also in a lot of ways, right? So I'll try to, you know, explain this in a few methods. So first thing, they are saying that the cost price of 12 articles is the selling price of the 18 articles, all right? Let's write this point. The cost price of 12 articles is equal to the selling price of the 18 articles, all right? Now guys, we can do one thing is we can assume, we can take the LCM of 12 and 18, and I'm sure we all know the LCM of 12 and 18 has to be 36, right? Simple in fact. So let us assume that the cost price of 12 articles and also the selling price of 18 articles, both are equal to rupees 36, all right? Now the cost price of 12 is 36, all right guys? So we can find the cost price of one article, right? And similarly we have the selling price of 18 articles, and by which also we can find the selling price of one article. Okay, let me write this. Selling price of 18 articles is 36, by which we can find out the selling price of one article, right? Okay, so guys, in the first case, all right, in the first case, you can see that the article is getting divided by 12, so the price should also get divided by 12. So 36 by 12 is rupees 3, right? In second case, the articles are getting divided by 18, so the selling price also getting divided by 18, so 36 by 18 has to be 2, right? So guys, cost price of one article is 3 and the selling price of one article is 2. So we can see that in this process there is a loss occurring, right? How much is the loss? The loss is of rupees 1 and the cost price is rupees 3. So we can find finally the loss percentage as well. Guys, the loss is of rupees 1, okay, and the loss percentage we can say is what? We can say that loss is what percentage of the cost price, right? Loss is rupees 1 and the cost price is rupees 3. So we just have to find out that 1 is what percentage of 3, which we can say is 33.33%, right? So this is how we can find the profit or loss percentage in this case. Okay guys, I would like to tell you one more method to solve this problem, right? Let me do this over here, right? Okay, so what was the question? The cost price of 12 is equal to the selling price of 18, right? So guys, let us assume the cost price of one article, all right? Let's do one thing. Let's assume the cost price of one article as rupees 100, the one of the best assumption in the question of percentages, right? So what should be the cost price of 12 articles? We can say the cost price of 12 articles must be rupees 1200, right? Because of one article is 100, so for 12 articles has to be 1200, very obvious. And the same has to be the selling price of 18 articles, right? Because that is something given to us, that the cost price of 12 articles is equal to the selling price of 18 articles, right guys? This is something given. So yes, these two amounts should also be equal, right? Selling price of 18 is rupees 1200, and by which you can simplify. Okay, let's not find the selling price of one article, otherwise it might be lengthier, or if you want you can do that as well, okay? So selling price of 18 is 1200, so what should be the selling price of, let's say, one article, right? Okay, selling price of 1 we can say is what? Okay, we can say this is 1200 by 18, all right? In these two, the highest common factor is 6, so we can say this is 200 by 3, okay? We can say this is 200 by 3. Okay, now because 3 is here in the denominator and we want the calculation should be easy, so we would like to make it fraction free, okay, denominator free. So we'll do what? Let's multiply this by 3 so that the denominator gets cancelled out, right? So let us find out the selling price of 3 articles, right? By what will happen with this, the selling price of one article will get multiplied by 3 and 3 will be cancelled out from the denominator, right? So 200 by 3 into 3 will be 200. So guys, we can say the selling price of 3 articles is 200 rupees. And remember, the cost price of one article is 100. So from here we can find the cost price of 3 articles, right guys? The cost price of 3 articles must be how much? See guys, the cost price of one article we assumed as 100, right? So the cost price of 3 articles must be rupees 300. Simple, okay? Fine. Now we have the cost price and also the selling price both for 3 articles, right? And we just learned in this question, in fact in question number 3, that the number of bought articles should be equal to the number of sold articles, right? So the bought articles we have taken 3, the sold articles are also 3, and now we can actually compare them. Let me write this here. The cost price of 3 articles is how much? The cost price of 3 articles is rupees 300. And the selling price of 3 article is 200, right? That's it. Now we can easily find out the profit or loss percentage. Clearly there is a loss, right? And yes, the loss percentage is nothing but a kind of percentage decrease. The amount of loss is rupees 100, okay? And then we can say the loss percentage is that loss is what percentage of the cost price. The loss is 100, the cost price is 300, so we just have to find out that 100 is what percentage of 300, which you can also say as 1 by 3, and that we can also say as 33.33%. So guys, this is how we can calculate the loss percentage of the same question with some other method as well. So I told you 2 methods. First one is this, in which we assume the price of both of these you can say the data, right, as 36, and in the other question we assume the cost price of one article and solve it, and both the ways the answer is obviously being the same. So guys, these are the 4 application of from the basics of this chapter, profit and loss. So this is all about this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next video, obviously we'll increase the level and we'll move to the next higher concepts, and we'll be doing some interesting applications as well. Till then, thank you so much guys. Keep watching, keep studying and keep practicing. Till then, thank you so much. Bye bye.